aluminium finishes on the timber.
Actually,
between the old box section.
I'd like now to officially welcome Mr.
Friends from across the shore of Australia and New Zealand, welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, Bulaganaka, and a very good evening to all of you. Actually honoured to be here and delighted to be here as chief guest to your second building industry night, and to acknowledge the key stakeholders in the industry. Ladies and gentlemen, the building and construction industry plays a crucial role in the development of our country, as it makes a vital contribution to competitiveness and prosperity of the economy, and a modern and efficient infrastructure is a key driver of productivity, and the construction industry has a major role in delivering the built infrastructure in an innovative and cost-effective way. Ladies and gentlemen, with the increased amount of investments in our infrastructure projects and rehabilitation after Tropical Cyclone Winston, the building and construction industry in Fiji is operating at full capacity. And local and overseas investors have announced several multi-million-dollar projects within the tourism industry and other different industries, and even construction for homes. The government, ladies and gentlemen, is committed to investing in capital works in terms of roads and energy and water and sewerage and the major ports of entry to improve trade facilitation and to increase living standards across the country. One thing that some of you may be aware, or some of you may not be aware, but the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Tourism, within that ministry we also have the Department of National Trade Measurements and Standards, which is also the national standards body in Fiji, and that develops and reviews and adopts international standards as Fijian standards. And there are about 70 Fijian standards, of which 41 of those are in the building sector, and 17 of these Fijian standards are in the Fijian National Building Code. And in improving the Fijian building standards, the Fijian Building Standards Committee, which consists of representatives from the public and private sectors, engineers, insurance councils, architects, statutory bodies and tertiary institutes. It was actually formed earlier this year. I understand there's a lot of architects and builders and engineers here today. This committee has recently recommended amendments with respect to such things as roofing and wall cladding standards and standards for wind load for housing. And those standards are actually going through the final consultation with structural engineers before it will be presented to the Cabinet for endorsement. And in addition to the work of the Building Standards Committee, the Ministry together with FIRCA has also increased border control of imports of such things as roofing coils and cyclonic screws, etc. And now, why I mention that, I see around me a lot of doors and frames, etc. that are being done. There is something that the government has focused on in terms of the building industry. I think the Cyclone Winston was a massive shock to us. So what we build from here on in must be Category 5 cyclone proof. So I take my hat off to SAMMA for taking the lead in such bringing in innovative products that are actually Category 5 cyclone proof. It's not about bringing in cheap goods anymore, the origin of which we really don't care about, so long as the standards are good enough to withstand Category 5 cyclones. We're in cyclone season shortly again. Hopefully we don't get another cyclone. But in reviewing those Fijian building material standards is extremely important for our country, and this will improve the quality of building materials imported and manufactured into the Fijian market, and obviously cut costs through improving building materials, and we can actually withstand the issue of climate change, and it's economically viable for us. We're also ensuring the use of environmentally friendly building materials aligned to our national environment policies, such as the Green Growth Framework, and to be up to par with innovation and technological changes. I must spell this out for all of you today. I know, as I said earlier, that there's a lot of builders and engineers and architects that are here, please be very wary of what you assign with respect to what the buildings that are being constructed in and around Fiji. I know you're all very aware. I know the engineers took a very active part in the reconstruction around Fiji. But the word of warning really isn't for you, it's for those that actually do supply. The Department of National Trade Measurement Standards has a great team that keeps an eye on what comes into the country, and so that our consumers don't suffer. We will no longer tolerate substandard materials being brought into the country so that our citizens end up building homes that are not able to withstand cyclones. I'll give you a classic example. Something actually slipped through customs and actually made it to Labasa. It was substandard, but we have such a great team now that actually they caught it, and we actually disposed of the stuff. So FIRCA is also involved at the port of entry when these things come in, and it's actually something that's at the forefront of our mind. And also, ladies and gentlemen, with respect to standards, we are also in the middle of reviewing the Department of National Trade Measurements and Standards. We have had the assistance of the Australian government to improve ourselves so that we're on par with Australia and New Zealand with respect to our buildings. So I take my hat off to SAMMA for organizing this building industry night. Thank you very much. And I hope that everybody takes a leaf out of your book. And I've got a little brief from you today regarding all the stuff that's here. But we're very proud of you. Thank you very much for taking the lead on this. And to all of the gentlemen that are here from Australia and New Zealand, welcome once again. And remember, we're actually making sure that our country is always safe. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy your evening.
About 3 or 4 ton on the weaving machine to be a knife, or you try to pass through it. The knife won't just go through and out.
I was going to acknowledge your presence, but